The vast emptiness of space surrounded the exploration vessel Horizon as it drifted through the uncharted sector. Captain Diane Miller stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. The ship had been mapping this region for 3 weeks now, and the crew was eager for something interesting to happen. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from the fourth planet," said Officer Jack Bennett, his fingers moving quickly across the control panel. "It doesn't match any known natural phenomenon in our database." Diane walked over to his station and studied the readings. After 10 years of deep space exploration, she had learned to trust her instincts. "It looks artificial. Could be a sign of intelligent life." The bridge crew exchanged excited glances. First contact was the dream of every explorer. "Take us in, but maintain distance. Full sensor sweep and ready the communication systems," Diane ordered. As the Horizon approached the rocky planet, they discovered a small outpost built into the side of a mountain range. The structures were angular and covered in a chitinous material that reminded Diane of insect shells. "No response to our hails," said Communications Officer Rita Young. "But our sensors detect approximately 30 life forms inside the outpost. Non-human." "Launch a probe," Diane commanded. "Let's get a closer look before we decide our next move." The probe's images revealed tall, insectoid beings moving with predatory grace. They had 6 limbs, 4 arms, and 2 legs, with exoskeletons that gleamed like polished obsidian. Their heads featured compound eyes and clicking mandibles that seemed designed for tearing flesh. "The Xenobiology Department is going to have a field day with this," muttered Science Officer Sam Peterson. "They appear to be a predatory species based on their physical characteristics." Diane made her decision. "Prepare the shuttle. I'll leave a small team to attempt peaceful contact. Standard first contact protocols." Despite objections from her security chief, Diane took a team of 5 to the surface, including Jack Bennett, who had specialized in xenobiology before joining security, and Rita Young to handle communications. The landing party approached the outpost with their hands empty, universal signs of peace displayed on their suits. The massive door to the outpost slid open, revealing 3 of the insectoid aliens. Each stood nearly 8 feet tall, their mandibles clicking in what seemed like excitement. Rita activated the universal translator as Diane stepped forward. "We come in peace as representatives of humanity and Earth." The aliens conferred among themselves, producing clicking and hissing sounds. When the translator finally processed their language, the message was unexpected. "Soft prey enters our territory willingly. The hunt lacks challenge, but the meat may be sweet." Before Diane could respond, the lead alien lunged forward with shocking speed, grabbing for her with clawed appendages. Jack Bennett reacted instantly, his military training taking over. He sidestepped the attack and struck the alien with a stun baton. The creature hissed in pain and surprise as electricity coursed through its exoskeleton. The other 2 aliens attacked simultaneously. Jack managed to incapacitate one with a well-placed strike to what appeared to be a nerve cluster, while Rita used her emergency defensive spray on the third. The alien reeled back, its compound eyes clouding temporarily. "Back to the shuttle. Now," Diane shouted as more aliens emerged from the outpost. The team retreated at a full run, barely making it back to the shuttle before the aliens could intercept them. As they lifted off, Diane saw dozens of the creatures watching their departure, mandibles clicking in what she now recognized as agitation. Back on the Horizon the crew gathered to process what had happened. "They saw us as food," Sam said, reviewing the translator's interpretation. "Not as equals or even as a potential threat. Just prey." Jack nursed a cut on his arm from the brief struggle. "Well, they learned differently pretty quick. I've never seen anything move that fast, but they didn't expect resistance." Diane looked at the images of the aliens still displayed on the main screen. "Send all our data to Earth Command immediately. We've just made first contact with a predatory species that considers us livestock." She paused, watching the aliens' activity increasing around their outpost. "And I think we just started something we'll all regret." Unknown to the humans, on the planet below, the Vraxian High Commander Skiff received reports of the encounter with great interest. "So the soft ones can fight," he clicked to his subordinates. "How?" "Unexpected. Study their vessel's departure trajectory. I want to know where these creatures nest." 3 months after the Horizon incident, Susan Clark stared at her sensor readings with growing concern. This was the 4th time this week she had detected unusual energy signatures orbiting Outpost 47. As the lead scientist at this remote human colony, she had learned to pay attention to anomalies. "Computer, compare these readings to known ship signatures," Susan said, brushing her blonde hair from her eyes. "No match found in database," the computer replied. However, partial similarity to unidentified vessels reported by exploration vessel Horizon *. Susan's heart beat faster. Everyone in the outer colonies had heard about the Horizon's * encounter with the aggressive insectoid aliens. Earth Defense Command had issued warnings to all frontier settlements afterward. She immediately called the outpost commander. "Sir, I believe we're being watched." The energy signatures match what Captain Miller reported. Within hours, a priority message was sent to Earth. Lieutenant Peter Hayes and his special response team were dispatched to investigate. Their ship, the Falcon *, was small but fast, designed for reconnaissance and quick intervention. Meanwhile, on the other side of the sector, the small farming colony of New Haven went dark. Its 37 residents had no warning when 3 Vraxian ships descended from the night sky. The aliens moved with frightening efficiency, rounding up the colonists before they could send distress signals. Among the captives was Alan Murphy, a man with graying hair and quiet eyes that missed nothing. 10 years earlier, he had been Staff Sergeant Murphy, Marine Special Forces. Now he was just a farmer seeking peace, until the aliens came. As the Vraxians herded the humans into transport containers, Alan carefully observed their movements, their weapons, and most importantly, their patterns. The aliens clicked and hissed to each other, seemingly unconcerned that their captives might understand them. The humans were taken to a massive ship in orbit. There, they were separated into different holding areas that resembled zoo exhibits more than prison cells. Transparent walls allowed the Vraxians to observe them at all times. High Commander Skiff moved through the observation deck, his compound eyes taking in the human specimens. Beside him walked Texelar, the science director. "These creatures are fascinating." Texelar clicked, mandibles moving excitedly. Despite their soft exteriors, they show remarkable adaptability. The specimens have already attempted 3 different methods of testing their enclosures. Skiff made a dismissive gesture with his upper limbs. They are simply prey animals trying to escape. All captured species do this. With respect, Commander, these humans display unusual problem-solving abilities, and their social bonding is unlike anything we've observed. Look there. On the monitor, they watched as Alan Murphy organized the other captives, assigning them tasks and creating a makeshift living structure within hours of captivity. "They form hierarchies quickly," Texelar noted, "and without physical combat to establish dominance. Their physical weakness necessitates cooperation." Skiff clicked dismissively. "It is of no consequence. Begin the physical testing tomorrow. I want to know how much stress these creatures can withstand before we launch the main hunting fleet." In his holding cell, Alan gathered the other colonists close. "Listen carefully," he whispered. "These things are studying us. Everything we do is giving them information they'll use against other humans." "What can we do?" asked Grace Winters, a young mother clutching her terrified 6-year-old son. Alan's eyes hardened. "We show them exactly what they expect to see: scared, helpless prey animals. But secretly, we prepare. We watch their routines, learn their weaknesses, and get ready." "Ready for what?" asked Hank Dawson, the colony's doctor. "To show them that on Earth, Even the prey animals know how to hunt, Alan replied. They think they're studying us, but we're going to study them right back. As the humans whispered their plans, High Commander Skiff ordered scout ships to begin monitoring 3 more human colonies. The Vraxian Dominion had conquered 12 species across their expansion. These soft, weak humans would be the 13th. Skiff did not notice when Texelar quietly filed a warning report about human unpredictability. No one on the command ship paid it any attention. After all, what danger could prey possibly pose to the galaxy's apex predators? The Vraxian war fleet emerged from hyperspace above the human colony world of Terra Nova. 15 massive ships, each shaped like an elongated insect with spines and sharp angles, positioned themselves in attack formation. From his command chair, Fleet Leader Rekthar surveyed the small human settlement below with disdain. Primitive dwellings, minimal defenses. Begin the harvest, he ordered, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. The Vraxians had conquered 3 sectors using the same strategy. Swift attacks, overwhelming force, and no mercy. They expected the same easy victory here. They were wrong. As the first Vraxian landing ships entered the atmosphere, hidden defense platforms activated across Terra Nova's surface. A barrage of missiles streaked upward, destroying 3 ships before they could deploy troops. Unexpected resistance, reported the weapons officer. The prey has teeth. On the colony's surface, Maria Rodriguez worked frantically at her control station. As the colony's combat engineer, she had spent months converting mining equipment into makeshift defensive weapons. Now she watched her creation in action. Mining lasers repurposed as anti-aircraft guns tracked the alien ships. Keep them busy, she told her team through the comlink. Every minute we hold them here is another minute for the fleet to arrive. The Vraxian ground forces that managed to land encountered more surprises. Instead of fleeing humans, they met organized resistance. Colonial militia fired from reinforced positions. Hidden traps separated Vraxian squads from each other. Frank Johnson, the colony leader, coordinated the defense from an underground bunker. A former city planner, he used his knowledge of the colony's layout to funnel the aliens into killing zones. Group 3, fall back to position Delta, he ordered. Make them think you're retreating, then hit their flank when Group 4 opens fire. The Vraxians, used to hunting prey that ran in panic, found themselves confused by enemies that retreated, then counterattacked from unexpected directions. In orbit, Fleet Leader Rekthar received troubling reports. Ground forces report 40% casualties. The prey fights with unusual coordination. Before he could respond, sensors detected new ships entering the system. Earth's defense fleet had arrived, smaller than the Vraxian armada, but moving with precision and purpose. These are not the actions of prey, Rekthar clicked angrily. They stand and fight like predators. Meanwhile, aboard the Vraxian research vessel, Alan Murphy saw his opportunity. For weeks, he had watched the guards, noting their routines. He had tested their reactions with small acts of defiance, learning what they expected from their human captives. It's time, he whispered to the others. They've taken half the guards to join the attack. We move now. Using improvised tools fashioned from broken pieces of their enclosures, the humans disabled the surveillance systems in their cells. Alan had discovered that the Vraxians relied heavily on visual confirmation. If they couldn't see trouble, they'd assumed there was none. When the guard brought the daily food rations, Alan gave the signal. 20 humans ambushed the surprised alien, overwhelming him despite his superior strength. With the guard's access key, Alan released the humans from the other holding cells. Remember the plan, he told them. Stay together, move quietly, and head for the shuttle bay. As alarms began to sound throughout the research vessel, the escaped humans moved through the corridors, using knowledge gained from weeks of careful observation. Back at Terra Nova, the battle raged. The Vraxians still held the advantage in numbers and firepower, but the humans refused to surrender. Every meter of ground was contested. On his flagship, Rekthar made a difficult decision. Order all forces to disengage. We will regroup and return with proper battle plans. His compound eyes narrowed as he watched the human ships protecting their colony. These creatures are not what we expected. The Vraxian fleet retreated, leaving behind a third of their landing force and 4 destroyed ships. It was the first time in centuries that a Vraxian hunting party had failed to subdue its prey. In the command center on Terra Nova, Maria Rodriguez watched the alien ships depart. "They'll be back," she said softly. Frank Johnson nodded. "And next time, they'll know what they're really fighting." The Grand Council chamber of the Vraxian Dominion buzzed with angry clicks and hisses. High Commander Skiff stood before the assembled war leaders, his posture rigid with tension. "The human species is hereby classified as a threat to be eliminated," he declared. "No longer will we view them as simple prey. They have resisted our first hunting parties and showed dangerous levels of coordination." Across the chamber, Science Director Teslor raised a claw in objection. "Commander, I advise caution. My studies of the captives reveal unusual adaptability. They may be physically weaker, but their minds." "Their minds will not save them from our warships," interrupted Skiff. "Prepare the Armada. We will crush their colonies and then find their homeworld." On Earth, the United Government held an emergency session. Reports from the frontier colonies had reached them, bringing news of the alien threat. Admiral William Carter, a veteran of the Mars conflict, addressed the assembled leaders. "These Vraxians have superior technology and natural weapons," he said, pointing to holographic images of the insectoid aliens. "But they fight like predators used to easy kills. They lack experience with determined resistance." "What do you propose, Admiral?" asked the Council President. "Asymmetric warfare," Carter replied. "We can't match them ship for ship, but we can make every engagement costly for them. Hit and run tactics. Guerrilla operations. We fight on our terms, not theirs." In her laboratory at Luna Base, scientist Lisa Brown studied tissue samples recovered from dead Vraxian warriors. For weeks, she had been analyzing their biology, searching for any weakness humanity could exploit. "Look at this cellular structure," she told her assistant, pointing to a magnified image. "Their nervous system uses a completely different neurotransmitter than ours. If we could develop a compound that disrupts it," her assistant nodded, "a non-lethal weapon that only affects their species." "Exactly," Lisa said, "something to level the playing field." On Novaterra, now under Vraxian occupation, the human resistance operated from hidden bunkers. The colony had fallen 2 weeks after the first attack, but not all humans had been captured. Some had escaped into the wilderness, led by miners who knew the planet's complex cave systems. Greg Wilson, once a communications specialist and now a resistance leader, worked tirelessly to decode Vraxian transmissions. Years of studying patterns and data had prepared him for this challenge. "I think I've got it," he told the others gathered around his makeshift workstation. "Their language is based on clicks and pheromones, but the electronic signals follow patterns we can decode." "Can you understand what they're saying?" asked Donna Reed, a former schoolteacher who now coordinated supply raids. Greg nodded. "Enough to know they're planning a major attack on Proxima Colony next week. And more importantly, I can now intercept their battle plans." In the occupied zone of Novaterra, the Vraxians were learning uncomfortable lessons about human psychology. Their usual intimidation tactics, public executions, and displays of strength were not producing the expected results. "They do not behave as conquered species should," complained Security Chief Killar to his subordinates. "When we kill one, the others do not become more compliant. They become more resistant." What puzzled the Vraxians most was the humans' ability to communicate and coordinate despite the occupation. Messages spread among the population through methods the aliens couldn't detect or understand. Unknown to them, the resistance had developed a system of seemingly innocent physical gestures and everyday objects placed in specific locations to convey messages. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Carter prepared his fleet for a risky strategy. "The Vraxians expect us to defend Proxima Colony directly," he told his captains. "Instead, we'll let them commit their forces there while we strike at their supply convoy here." He pointed to a star map showing the Vraxian supply route. "They think like hunters, not strategists," Carter continued. "They focus on the prey in front of them and ignore their flanks. We'll make them pay for that mistake." As both sides prepared for the next phase of the conflict, High Commander Skiff received a disturbing report from the Research Division. The document, prepared by Titular, contained a warning. Analysis of human behavior suggests they have no natural predators on their homeworld. The implications of this evolutionary path require urgent consideration. Skiff dismissed the report without reading it fully. After all, what threat could prey possibly pose to the greatest predators the galaxy had ever known? Major Olivia Martinez crouched in the shadows of the Vraxian outpost. Her team of 6 Special Forces soldiers moved silently behind her, their faces darkened with camouflage paint. For 3 weeks, they had operated deep in enemy territory, striking at Vraxian targets and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. "Target in sight," whispered Olivia, looking through her thermal scope at the communications array that served as the hub for Vraxian fleet movements in this sector. "Remember, we placed the charges and were gone in 5 minutes. No engagement unless absolutely necessary." Her team nodded. They had all seen what Vraxian warriors could do in close combat. The aliens were stronger and faster, with natural armor and claws that could tear through body armor. But humans had advantages of their own. "Moving now," said Corporal Dan White as he slipped forward with the explosives. On the other side of Vraxian space, Engineer Paul Davis made final adjustments to the stealth system installed on the scout ship Phantom Asterisk. The technology was untested in combat, but simulations suggested it would bend light and absorb radar in ways that would render the ship invisible to Vraxian sensors. "If this works," Paul told Captain Joe Foster, "we'll be able to map their entire defense network without them knowing we were ever there." "And if it doesn't work?" Joe asked. Paul shrugged. "Then we'll have a very exciting few minutes before we die." The Vraxian homeworld of Vraxis Prime was considered impenetrable. Multiple defense rings, thousands of patrol ships, and atmospheric sensors created a shield that no enemy had ever breached, which was why Sergeant Ryan Phillips and his 5 Marines caused such confusion when they were discovered in the northern wilderness region. "Impossible," clicked Security Commander Carr as he received the report. "How did soft skins penetrate our defenses?" The truth was both simple and audacious. The Marines had allowed themselves to be captured during a battle, then broken free during transport to a research facility. For 3 weeks they had survived in the harsh Vraxian environment, disrupting supply depots and sabotaging outlying facilities. "They move at night," reported a scout. "They avoid direct confrontation. When we chase them, they'd break into smaller groups, then reunite later." Pictar's mandibles clicked in frustration. The behavior made no sense to Vraxian military doctrine, which valued direct confrontation and shows of strength. In the nursery chambers of Vraxian hives across their empire, caretakers began telling young ones frightening stories about the soft-skinned predators who never tired, who hunted with clever traps instead of strength, who worked together without fighting for dominance. High Commander Skiff received increasingly disturbing reports from all fronts. Supply convoys disappeared without distress calls. Outposts went silent. Most concerning was the attack on the cloning facility in the Chlorath system, where the security recording showed humans moving with precise coordination to disable defenses, extract information from computers, and then vanish, all without firing a shot. "How do they keep finding our weakest points?" Skiff demanded of his war council. None could provide answers that satisfied him. The truth was uncomfortable. Humans studied their enemy, planned meticulously, and attacked with purpose rather than instinct. Aboard the research vessel where Texelar continued his studies, a captured human child drew pictures that disturbed the scientist deeply. When asked to draw scary things, The child produced images of humans hunting various animals on Earth. The pictures showed humans using tools, setting traps, working in groups, and most disturbingly, continuing to hunt even after being injured. They do not give up, Taxular noted in his report. Even their young understand persistence as a hunting strategy. He forwarded his findings to High Command with an urgent notation. It was ignored as SCIF prepared for a major offensive against the human colonies. That night, as the High Commander slept in his supposedly impregnable chambers, a tiny drone no bigger than a finger infiltrated through the ventilation system. Developed by human engineers based on Earth insects, it delivered a microscopic payload directly to the sleeping commander. By morning, Scaife was dead. No wounds, no poison detected by standard scans. The entire Vraxian command structure fell into disarray as sub-commanders fought for position. The hunters had become the hunted, and they didn't even understand how it had happened. Dr. Karen Foster stood before the Earth Defense Council, her presentation displayed on the large screen behind her. For months, she had studied Vraxian biology alongside human evolutionary history, searching for answers that might help win the war. The key difference isn't just physical, she explained, pointing to comparative diagrams of human and Vraxian muscle tissue. It's in our evolutionary paths. Vraxians evolved as ambush predators. They strike with incredible speed and power, but they tire quickly. The council members leaned forward, suddenly more interested. Humans, by contrast, evolved as persistence hunters, Karen continued. Our ancestors didn't kill with claws or overwhelming strength. They chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We're built for endurance, physically and mentally. Admiral Carter nodded slowly. That explains why our long-term operations have been so effective. The Vraxians expect quick victories. They don't know how to handle an enemy that keeps coming back. Exactly, Karen said. When a Vraxian expends energy in a hunt, they expect an immediate reward. Their psychology can't easily handle delayed gratification or extended campaigns. In the tactical center of the main Earth fleet, advisor Eric Nelson developed new combat protocols based on Dr. Foster's research. Our ships will engage the Vraxians, then retreat before taking significant damage. He instructed the fleet captains. We make them chase us, burning their resources. After several cycles, when their energy reserves are depleted, we launch our full attack. Captain Judy Reynolds raised her hand. Won't they recognize the pattern? They might intellectually understand what we're doing, Eric replied, but they're fighting their own instincts. Their natural programming tells them to go all out for the kill. We're counting on that instinct overriding their tactical training. On a small station at the edge of human space, a surprising development unfolded. A Vraxian scout ship approached under a flag of truce. Inside was Taxular, the science director who had been studying humans since first contact. I request asylum. Taxular clicked to the stunned human security team. I bring valuable information about Vraxian biology and military capabilities. Within hours, Taxular was speaking with human scientists, including Dr. Foster, through an improved translation device. Your species fascinated me from our first encounter, Taxular explained. You behave in ways no prey species should. I began to suspect the truth, but the High Command refused to listen. What truth? Asked Karen. That humans are not prey that learn to fight back. You are predators yourselves, just of a different kind. The most dangerous kind. Lars Dava confirmed Karen's theories and provided crucial details about Vraxian physiology. The neurotransmitter that Lisa Brown had identified could indeed be disrupted safely, creating a non-lethal weapon that would incapacitate Vraxians without killing them. As the scientific breakthrough spread through human forces, a more profound revelation was happening among the Vraxian ranks. Captured battle recordings showing humans continuing to fight despite injuries, hunger, and exhaustion began circulating among Vraxian warriors. The footage contradicted everything they understood about how prey should behave. They do not surrender when hurt. One warrior clicked to another as they watched humans dragging wounded comrades to safety under fire. They do not flee when the odds are poor. What manner of creature behaves this way? A senior officer answered, his voice subdued. Creatures who evolved hunting animals larger and stronger than themselves. Creatures who learned that persistence overcomes strength. Creatures who, like us, are predators. The realization spread like a virus through the Vraxian forces. The humans they had dismissed as soft, weak prey were actually pursued predators. Beings evolved to keep hunting long after any sane creature would give up. In the command chamber of the new Vraxian flagship, Acting High Commander Ktra received the reports from the Psychological Warfare Division with growing alarm. Morale was falling across all battle groups. Vraxian warriors, who had never known fear of another species, were now experiencing it. This changes nothing, he clicked angrily to his officers. We still possess superior strength and technology. We will crush these humans before their persistence matters. But even as he spoke, many of his officers were thinking the same disturbing thought. What if the humans simply refused to be crushed? What if they kept coming back, again and again, no matter the cost? How do you defeat an enemy that doesn't know when it's beaten? Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship Determination *, watching as the largest human fleet ever assembled moved into formation. Operation Endgame was about to begin. A coordinated strike against the heart of Vraxian power. All ships report ready, Admiral, said his communications officer. Carter nodded. Send the signal to all human colonies under Vraxian control. The uprising begins in 6 hours. Across 3 star systems, human resistance fighters receive the coded message. On Novaterra, Diane Miller, once the captain of the exploration vessel Horizon and now leader of the largest resistance cell, prepared her people for their most dangerous mission yet. The fleet will draw away their main forces, she told the gathered fighters in their underground base. When their ships leave orbit, we take control of the communication towers. Without those, their ground forces will be isolated. One of the younger fighters looked nervous. They still outnumber us 5-1. Diane smiled grimly. Numbers don't matter when your enemy can't talk to each other. In her laboratory aboard the Determination Lisa Brown made final adjustments to the delivery system for her neurodisruptor compound. The clear liquid, harmless to humans, would temporarily disable the Vraxian nervous system. Loading complete, she confirmed to Admiral Carter through the comm. Every ship in the fleet is now equipped with aerosol dispensers. Once they penetrate Vraxian ship hulls, the compound will spread through their air circulation systems. On the Vraxian throne world of Vraxis Prime, political division had reached a breaking point. Acting High Commander Ktra faced opposition from a growing faction led by Elder Enkfor, who advocated for peace negotiations with the humans. This war is breaking our forces, Enkfor clicked to the assembled council. The humans do not break. They do not surrender. They learn from every defeat and return stronger. Kitra's mandibles clacked in anger. Would you have the Dominion bow to prey? We have ruled this sector for 1,000 years. They are not prey, countered Nikor. Science Director Tagsular was correct. They are predators with different methods. We must adapt or face extinction. Before the council could vote, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The human fleet had been detected entering the system. Light years away, Ambassador Julia Webb prepared for her own critical mission. If the military operation succeeded, she would present terms of surrender to whatever Vraxian leadership remained. The terms have been carefully crafted to allow the Vraxians to maintain their dignity while ensuring human safety. The key is to give them an honorable way to end this, she told her diplomatic team. They need to save face while accepting the new reality. Above Vraxis Prime, the space battle quickly became the largest engagement of the war. Human ships darted in and out of range, never staying still long enough for the more powerful Vraxian weapons to lock on. The Vraxian fleet, expecting another hit-and-run attack, committed fully to pursuing the human vessels. They didn't notice the small stealth ships slipping past their defenses, headed for the planet below. On the surface, Sergeant Ryan Phillips led his Marines through the sprawling complex where thousands of human captives were held. His team had spent months on this hostile world, gathering intelligence and preparing for this moment. "Remember, quick and quiet," he told his people as they disabled the guards with Lisa's compound. "We get our people out first, then we gather the evidence." The evidence was in the research facilities adjacent to the prison complex. There, the Vraxians had conducted horrific experiments on human captives, trying to understand what made them so resilient. As Ryan's team moved deeper into the facility, they discovered something that even their hardened soldiers weren't prepared for. Rooms filled with dissected human remains, observation chambers where captives had been subjected to various stresses until death, and worst of all, attempts to crossbreed humans with other captured species. "Document everything," Ryan ordered, his voice tight with controlled rage. "The galaxy needs to see what they've done." In orbit, Admiral Carter received the first reports of success. The resistance forces had taken control of communication towers on 3 occupied worlds. The neurodisruptor compound was working, disabling Vraxian ships without killing their crews. And most importantly, the political division on Vraxis Prime had erupted into open conflict between those who wanted to fight to the death and those who recognized the need for peace. "Send word to Ambassador Webb," Carter instructed. "Tell her to prepare her team. I think our terms of surrender will soon have an audience." 1 year after the Battle of Vraxis Prime, representatives from both species gathered on the neutral planet of New Terra to sign the formal peace treaty. The Great Hall was divided evenly between humans and Vraxians, former enemies now cautiously working toward cooperation. Ambassador Julia Webb stood at the center podium, facing the assembled delegates. Beside her stood Elder Enkfor, who had emerged as the leader of the new Vraxian Council after the War faction's defeat. "Today marks not just the end of conflict," Julia said, her voice carrying through the hall, "but the beginning of understanding between our peoples." Enkfor's mandibles moved in what humans now recognized as a gesture of agreement. "Our species walked different evolutionary paths, but we find ourselves at the same destination, seeking to build rather than destroy." The Treaty of New Terra established clear boundaries between human and Vraxian territories, while creating shared zones for scientific and cultural exchange. Most importantly, it recognized the sovereignty of both species and their right to exist without fear of the other. After the ceremony, Alan Murphy stood awkwardly in a reception area, surrounded by Vraxian warriors. Once a prisoner, he was now respected by his former captors for his resistance leadership and strategic mind. "You fought well," clicked a scared Vraxian commander, "even when caged." Alan nodded. "Your people were worthy opponents. I'm glad we're talking instead of fighting now." In another corner, Dr. Karen Foster and Taxelar discussed plans for a joint research center. Their work during the war had evolved into a broader study of comparative evolutionary biology. "Your theory about persistence hunting shaped our understanding of humans," Taxelar said. "Now we must learn what other lessons our different paths can teach us." Karen smiled. "The most interesting discovery is how 2 predator species evolved such different approaches to survival. Your people valued immediate strength. Mine valued determination over time." Throughout human and Vraxian space, both societies were changing. The Vraxians began reforming their purely hierarchical structure, incorporating human concepts of cooperation while maintaining their traditional values of strength and skill. Their military doctrine, once focused solely on overwhelming force, now included strategies of patience and indirect approaches. Humans, for their part, gained new respect throughout the galaxy. The species that had humbled the mighty Vraxian dominion was no longer viewed as a minor newcomer to interstellar politics. Other alien races, some who had quietly suffered under Vraxian expansion, now sought alliances with Earth. On the former battlefield of Nova Terra, now a thriving colony again, Frank Johnson watched as human and Vraxian construction teams built a memorial to those lost in the war. The monument would honor fighters from both sides. "Never thought I'd see this day," he said to Maria Rodriguez, who stood beside him. "Working together instead of trying to kill each other." Maria nodded. "They're not so different from us. Once you get past the exoskeletons and mandibles, they want security, purpose, and respect, just like we do." 6 months later, a joint human-Vraxian military force was established to patrol their mutual borders. The first mission of this combined fleet was to investigate strange signals from a previously unexplored sector. Admiral Carter, now serving as human commander of the joint force, stood on the bridge of the flagship alongside his Vraxian counterpart, Sub-Commander Klar. "Long-range scans show an unknown vessel," reported the sensor officer. "Configuration matches nothing in either of our databases." Carter and Klar exchanged glances. Both knew that new discoveries could bring new dangers. "Shall we approach together?" Carter asked. Klar's mandibles clicked in agreement. "Together. Your patience with my strength." As the joint fleet moved toward the unknown ship, the young Vraxian officer spoke quietly to a human colleague. "My grandfather told stories of humans as weak prey," he clicked. "He was wrong." The human officer nodded. "And my teachers described Vraxians as mindless monsters. They were wrong too." On the bridge, Admiral Carter watched the unknown ship grow larger on the view screen. Whatever challenge awaited them, he knew humanity had found its place among the stars, not as prey, not even simply as predators, but as equals to any species they might encounter. "Perhaps we were both apex predators all along," Klar observed, "just of different kinds." Carter smiled. "And now we hunt together. That makes us stronger than either of us alone."